So that means it's beach time. And before you head out to the beach, we want to give you some legal tips. You know, before you go out to the sand, might end up in the slammer. You don't want that to happen, right, David?
Absolutely not. We actually should go out to the beach sometime soon.
We were supposed to go to the beach 2 weeks ago. Don't anybody think that David Aylor is just inviting me somewhere and you ditched me. Just put it that way.
Your schedule's too busy.
Anyways, David, there are laws that we need to abide by when we head out to the beach. Give us the first one.
Well, the first one I think that everybody should look to, particularly a lot of the low country folks, is the dog laws, the leash laws. People a lot of times bring their dogs out to the beach if they live here in the area because they want to take their dogs for a walk, a run maybe. And then also a lot of tourists come in with their dogs who wouldn't like to take their pet out to the ocean. But the problem is each beach is going to have their own specific laws related to the leash laws, and some of them can be some pretty hefty fines. So what you really need to do before you take your dog out to the beach is check and see if and when you're even allowed to take the dog out there. There's certain parts of the summer where some beaches here locally and around the coast that you can't even take your dog out there on a leash, and if at all, it may be really early in the morning. In fact, I was out at the beach just a couple weeks ago and I saw a few dogs just running around, with their owners, and I think the folks were from out of town, but they ended up, getting stopped and getting cited, and those fines can be pretty expensive. They're not going to put you in, jail per se, but the concern is a lot of people out there, the dog gets loose, maybe somebody gets injured, that sort of thing. But that's probably the biggest thing I would say to look at. Another thing is obviously some people, you may or may not know this, like to have alcohol on the beach. Here locally, you can't have alcohol on any of the beaches except Folly Beach. And on Folly Beach, if you're going to have alcohol, it has to be in a cup. You can't have any bottles, you can't have any cans, anything like that. And if you do, then you can be cited for those type of things.
Yeah, and every time I have gone to the beach since I've moved here, I've seen people with alcoholic beverages in bottles, in cans. So these are things you don't even think about until you get out there and get in some trouble.
Absolutely. People think, well, I'm not throwing them into the ocean. I'm not throwing them into the sand. I'm just, using the container that I have. And unfortunately, because they don't really pay attention to the signs, most of us don't. When you're going out there, you're happy to be out at the beach. You're not going to be reading those signs more often than not. But, then you get a few $100 ticket, or maybe sometimes if things escalate, taken to jail. Those are the times where it gets a little bit more serious. Yeah,
because, I mean, an incident just like that happened a couple weeks ago over on Folly Beach, where we saw that video. The gentleman was getting pushed down to the ground by the police. We're not exactly sure what happened with that, but we do know that the police are definitely out in force.
Right, and they have to be because, they want everybody to enjoy the beach, but they want them to enjoy it safely. You mix heavy alcohol consumption with the sun and things like that, and unfortunately some pretty serious things can happen.
You were just mentioning signage just a little while ago. How important it is for us to look at those signs, because a lot of times they tell you what times you can do certain things and what parts of the beach you can be on.
Right, exactly. Even related to the dunes. I mean, people running up into the dunes if they're playing some sort of sport activity, that sort of thing. You'd be surprised how many people get in trouble for that. Or recently I just had some clients come to me that had gotten trespassing tickets because they had walked to the wrong part of the beach, a little romantic evening, if you will. And, sometimes you just can't do that.
You just cannot do that. Also want to remind people, David, that there are now no parking signs very visible on the Isle of Palms. You want to make sure that you heed those warnings as well. Even though they're new signs, they are enforcing that.
Absolutely, and not very much fun to come back to a boot on your car or maybe even towed.
That's for sure. Well, David, thank you so very much for being here.
Thank you very much. Look forward to going to the beach with you soon.
My goodness, we'll have more Low Country Live coming up in just a minute. Stay with us.